Recently, Adelaide Metro has finished installing new bus stops in the Adelaide CBD. And for once they've done it really well. These are really well designed pieces of infrastructure and reflect Adelaide Metro's updated design practices. In this short video, I'll talk about these bus stops, why they're good and why I'm happy to see them. But first, a little bit of context. Back in February, we got word that Adelaide Metro was replacing all the bus stops in go zones and interchanges with new signage. Two styles of bus stops broadly exist in Adelaide. These are either in key locations where they are full-sized with bus route information on them, or solely a route number. These styles were implemented sometime in the early 2000s when Adelaide Metro first came about, to integrate Adelaide's three public transport modes. This video is going to focus on the big key location bus stops because they're really more interesting in the new Adelaide Metro design style. These bus stops are a big upgrade of what was previously in these locations and look far more modern and attractive to public transport users. The old bus stops had become quite outdated, to be honest, the rounded top in particular being the worst part of them. They also failed in being very substantial structures, as they were basically some metal pipe with steel sheet in between. But the bus stops, on the other hand, look straight out of the future in comparison. They are large structures and represent for public transport users that this is really a place where the bus comes. They use Adelaide Metro's new font as well, which looks more modern in comparison. They also make much better use of Adelaide Metro's colour policy. They are yellow around the top, which represents overall public transport colour, and the bus symbol is now green, which is the correct colour for bus information. This ensures Adelaide Metro is working towards making colour a more important part of the network. For the first time, they also feature directional information to other public transport arteries in the Adelaide CBD. Some examples of this are bus stops North Terrace pointing towards Granville Street or the Adelaide Railway Station, and also tram stops throughout the Adelaide CBD. This helps the network feel more integrated and connected, and helps people unfamiliar with it find key locations for public transport. These new bus stops also finally have their location in the CBD on them. They have the street name and the side of the street they're on, this really allowing the bus stops to feel like more of a place and giving people catching buses a good understanding of where the public transport actually is in the city. I do, however, have some criticism of these new designs, primarily in they lack real-time information displays. For many stops in the CBD, they would really justify it, and it's a bit of a failure this hasn't been implemented in the new design. However, it is important to remember these are part of an asset replacement program. They aren't necessarily new stop upgrades. Also, regarding the fact that everyone has a phone now, it leads to the information on these screens being of somewhat limited use. In an ideal world, there should be real-time information displays similar to what we have on the O-Bahn, where real-time information is really quite useful. Another criticism I do have is the placement of these stops. Adelaide Metro has replaced like for like with this program. They have only replaced large stops with large stops, and this doesn't necessarily reflect how the CBD has evolved over the past 2 decades. Outside the multi-billion-dollar Adelaide Royal Hospital, for example, the stop is still just a regular bus stop, when it really should be a full-size one, considering the importance of the location. Adelaide Metro has failed to take into consideration these important factors when deciding where to place these new key bus stops. I believe they are also lacking in many southern parts of the CBD, especially on streets the Hills buses use. There are physically no new key location bus stops, they're simply being replaced as they were. But overall, I am happy to report that Adelaide Metro's new bus stops are a massive improvement on what existed previously. Those tired bus stops are now mostly gone from the network, and they will be finished by the end of June. The new stops are making public transport more modernised and making catching buses a better experience. While they are not perfect by any means, they still represent a far better solution than what existed previously. Also, as the first implementation of the new SAPTA rulebook, it's going to be very promising going forward. So, thank you for watching the video, like, share, subscribe, etc., and I will see you in the future for more transport related content.